Hello everyone, I am Chris Phillips here again to do yet another video review, this time of Gears of War, developed by Epic and published by Microsoft Game Studios on the Xbox 360. If you're someone like me, you've probably already heard many reviews for Gears of War, and I can tell you right off the bat, yeah, all these reviews are right. This is a fantastic game. It is phenomenal. It isn't as innovative as it should be, but it is nonetheless probably the best game ever put out in the Xbox 360. But for my video review, I'm going to focus in on some of the things that the other reviews really didn't talk about or just touched on and really didn't go in depth about. First off, I want to talk about the campaign, the story of the campaign, to be more specific. Epic Games does not have a great history of great storytelling. What they have a great history of is great gameplay. And that's where the strong point of Gears of War is. However, the story in Gears of War does a great job of giving you a reason to go from pretty much gun battle to gun battle, giving you a reason to keep progressing in the game, but it doesn't immerse you in the story as much as it does immerse you in the gameplay. Same thing with the characters. You're not going to get a lot of background on the characters in the game. That's pretty much left to the instruction manual to explain the background of a lot of the characters, but you can go through the game and somewhat care about these characters and care why you want to keep them alive and why this battle is so big for not only them, but for mankind. Now, the length of the game has also been something that's been criticized by a lot of people. Yes, if you play the game on casual, which is easy, you're probably going to blow through it in about 8 hours. I played it for my first time through on hardcore. That took me about 12 to 15 hours. Yes, it did get to some points where there was a lot of levels, where there was like a little choke point that I had to play over and over and over again. That took me about 35 minutes to get through. But that's what you're going to do when you play on hardcore, and it actually gives a little bit of life to the game. It does get frustrating, but at the same time, I enjoyed playing those things over and over again just to see different tactics and find a tactic that finally worked so I can get past that choke point. True to the fashion of Gears of War, now that we've got the story out of the way, we can focus on the gameplay. And the gameplay certainly isn't as innovative as other shooters out there, but what it does is it does what it tries to do very well. And what it's trying to do is this quote-unquote stop and pop shooting, where you more take cover and pick and choose where you shoot your gun, then side strafe your enemies. Getting in cover is accomplished by hitting the A button. Pretty much there's a ton of things in the game that is accomplished by hitting the A button. Running is accomplished by the A button, and you get this little reporter in the warfield camera angle to it. But because everything is used with the A button, there are some issues, especially in the online mode, specifically because the maps are much smaller, of where you're trying to do something, whether it be run away, dive, or get into cover, and it does something completely different from what you want to do. That happens on occasion, and that usually ends up killing you. Also, the weapon set in the game is extremely standard issue in terms of shooters. The only thing that's really unique about this game is you have an assault rifle with a chainsaw bayonet, which, if you haven't heard by now, allows you to chainsaw your enemies, which I could show you clips of chainsawing people all day long and you still wouldn't get tired of it. The other two things that they have that many shooters don't have is they have a weapon called the torque bow, that is a bow and arrow that shoots pretty much grenades, and they have a weapon called the Hammer of Dawn, which you use in the single player campaign to kill the larger enemies, and you use in the multiplayer campaign to totally pwn noobs. Also in this game, you have to manually control your reloads. What does that mean? When you go to reload your gun, there's a little gauge in the upper right hand corner. If you stop that gauge in the highlighted area, you'll get a quick reload. If you stop it in the white zone, you'll get a super quick reload and a damage bonus, which essentially does double damage for those bullets. If you can't stop it in that zone and you stop it outside it, your gun will jam and it'll take you longer to reload. That is very cool because it actually makes you be conscious of when you're reloading. It actually helps to add intensity to the game, because if you accidentally miss and you can't reload as fast, you're getting showered down with bullets and there's no way you can suppress that fire. Now, the graphics of Gears of War looks fantastic, and this is true whether you're playing on an HD TV or a standard definition TV. They both look fantastic, so if you only have a standard definition TV, don't fear, you can play Gears of War and it still looks fantastic. The sound in the game, again, fantastic. It really helps you immerse yourself in the gameplay of Gears of War. And there's something else that Gears of War has that helps you immerse yourself in the gameplay. And it's something that if you have a PS3 or you're planning on getting a PS3, you're going to start to miss. It does a fantastic job with the rumble force feedback in the controller. In the game, there are several other enemies that are extremely huge. When they step on the ground, not only do you hear it in the game, this menacing step, you feel it in the controller, you feel the ground shaking. That is something that you can only get now on the Xbox 360 because Sony decided they didn't want to pay the royalties to put rumble in their controllers. Huge mistake, and is probably one of the shining points of the game, and it really helps immerse yourself in the gameplay of Gears of War. Another thing Gears of War does that a lot of other shooters don't do, and I'd like to see more shooters doing it, is they do a very, very good job with co-op. Not a perfect job with co-op, but a very good job with co-op. Offline, you can be playing the game by yourself, just the normal way you'd play the game. You just go in, single player campaign, continue, or start a new one. And let's say one of your buddies come over like 10-15 minutes into your game. You don't have to stop that game, exit out, and start a new campaign mission. All your buddy has to do is plug in an Xbox 360 controller, and bam, you go split screen and you're immediately playing co-op without having to reload anything. If that person quits, you do have to reload, go out to the main menu, and go back into your game before you can go start playing single player again. That's the only downfall to it. Online, it works a little differently. You actually have to set up the game from the co-op menu, whether you're setting up a private game or a public game. Again, you'll be playing by yourself, waiting for someone to join your game. And if you invite one of your buddies or a random person joins the game, it won't stop the game. What it'll do is actually bring up a little menu, you hit A, and the person will join the game about 5 seconds later. And then you just go through the game playing co-op over Xbox Live. The only problem with it is, if that person you're playing with quits at any point during that co-op game, the co-op game is immediately shut down, and you must go back to the main menu and do it all over again before you can restart playing. Now that we're talking about the online mode of the game, let's get into the multiplayer aspects of Gears of War. And again, it doesn't do a lot, but what it does is does what it does very, very well. What the gameplay is for the online mode is pretty much 4-on-4 team survival, and that's it. There are 3 variations on the rule, but it doesn't actually change the game that much. It's still 4-on-4 team survival. There's no way you can set it up so there's respawns, there's no capture the flag, and no deathmatch. You get 4-on-4 team survival. Again, that's fun, but in a couple of months, you're probably going to end up getting tired of playing 4-on-4 team survival over and over and over again. So that's probably my only complaint with the online mode of Gears of War. I actually found 4-on-4 to be quite fun. They didn't need to add any more people. The lag, because it's 4-on-4, there's very minimal lag, if not no lag, in most of the servers you play in. Lastly, I don't like the way they went about rank matches in Gears of War. They said from the onset that you couldn't invite friends to your ranked game, only your unranked games. So in my mind that meant each team was going to have 4 people, they don't know who they are, so everyone was going to be playing with the same handicap. However, when you go custom match, you can actually see the gamer tag of the person who's hosting that game. So that opened the window to let people, instead of being invited to that game, find the person's gamer tag that they wanted to join, then join their friends in a ranked game. So now all of a sudden that handicap was gone. If you were going to let people see the gamer tag of the host, why didn't you just let that person invite people and just completely sidestep this whole mess of ranked games? But right now, I think ranked games are broken, and unless Epic does something to fix it, the leaderboards are going to get completely out of hand, and you're going to see a lot of people in there who are not truly as good as their rank sets. At the end of the day, will Gears of War overtake Halo? Probably not. But it is a fantastic game with a great campaign and a limited but well executed multiplayer mode, and it is definitely a game that gamers will be able to use to hold themselves over till Halo 3 is released sometime next year. For more information on this or any other review, or to subscribe to our podcast, please log on to allgames.com.